welcome to Horse Talk. And as promised, I am back from Dordogne and the ride like Viking Gathering to share with you what I learned from the shamanic trained trance dancer when it comes to training horses. And a bunch of other stuff that we did during the weekend, which was the first ever Ride like a Viking gathering, and we met at Pauline and Itius horse farm in Dordogne, France. And we had a program. Yes, we did, and the shamanic dancing was just a part of it. So I thought I'd give my biggest lessons from the weekend. Yes, because we learned a lot. And I must say that the saddle fitting workshop that we had with Linda Hoffman, who is educated as fitter and centric riding instructor, and she's also a Ride Like Viking instructor. She had a brilliant saddle fitting workshop where we literally saw how to fit a saddle properly to a horse. And I think two things that I definitely learned from her that is very important when fitting a saddle is, of course, to have enough room for the withers to move, because when a horse moves, the withers move up to 2 to 3 centimeters. So we need a lot of space for the withers. We don't want to, crunch them down with the saddle. So we might need more space than we actually think we need. And she also showed us how to find the last rib of the horse and then go upwards from there to find that point on the back of the horse, because the saddle it's not supposed to be behind that point, because then you are kind of ruining your horse's back. Yes, and for us who ride Icelandic horses, this can actually be quite challenging because the horses are small. And then if the rider is tall, then the rider might need a 18-inch saddle, while the horse doesn't really have room for more than maybe 17 or 16 and a half inches. So that can be a bit tricky, but Linda also brought some saddles which like the hind part of the saddle is formed in a special way that, you know, yeah, doesn't bother the horse as much. Yeah, it goes kind of upwards in the back to relieve the lower back of the horse from pressure. Yes, and we also learned a great technique for how to find if the saddle is too big or too wide or too narrow by, taking our hand at the front of the saddle from the top and downwards. And if the saddle is tight in the top, then the saddle is actually too wide because the gullet is then too wide and pressing on the withers of the horse. But if the pressure is further down, saddle is actually too narrow, which is a bit counterintuitive. So if we find pressure at the top there of the saddle, when we take our hand downwards, then many would think, oh, the saddle is too narrow, and start widening the gullet, and that will tend to have the opposite effect. And we also, of course, learned how important the saddle is, because it is the saddle who connects the horse with the rider. So, of course, if the saddle isn't fitting the horse and the saddle isn't fitting the rider, it's going to be difficult to find that flow and connection while riding. So let me know in the comments below if you know how to fit your saddle to your horse and if these tips were helpful. And if you want to learn more about this, I actually also made a little reel of her presentation, which you can find on my Facebook page and on Instagram, and you will see her best tips there. And after doing the saddle fitting workshop with Linda Hoffman, we learned some amazing horse training techniques from Pauline, who basically she uses positive reinforcement in a way that engages the horse's hind legs and makes them carry themselves better, especially over the back. And this was also something that Linda emphasized in her workshop, was that, if a horse is too young and isn't developed yet, or the horse hasn't learned to carry itself properly with the back, then that horse is not supposed to carry a rider. And then the methods Pauline showed us taught us exactly how to help the horse engage the muscles that are so important for carrying the rider, and also how to free up the movements of the front. And one of the workshop attendees, or the gathering attendees, she also got to ride one of Pauline's horses while the horse was doing these exercises. I think you could basically see how the horse lifted the rider upwards by engaging the back. And if you want to learn more about this, I have also posted a reel about that, which you can find on my Facebook page and Instagram, where you see the exercises Pauline taught us how to teach our horses, basically, which was very inspiring. So I am definitely going to try out some of these methods. And then this was a 3-day program, so hold on tight. We also learned coaching techniques from Pauline, and how coaching is different from instruction and regular teaching. And that especially when we are coaching, we are asking questions, not necessarily giving the answers. Something that I am definitely going to try to practice a little bit more. Because I also had a part of the program where I basically gave everyone the answer to how it's possible to make 100,000 US dollars per year by working 2 hours a day, and what business plan and strategies you need to be able to do that. Because of course, I want the Ride Like a Viking trainers to succeed with their horse business or whatever business they want to start. And yeah, I have a proven plan and system for how to do it. But I'm not sure everyone was into that. But basically, if you want to make 100,000 per year by working 2 hours a day, you probably need to do some things you are uncomfortable with. So it's like, I don't want to go live on Facebook, and I don't want to show my face. I don't want to talk to the camera. I don't want to share tips. If that's kind of your first instinct when seeing this plan, then of course the strategy isn't going to work, because that's a big part of the strategy. Yes, it is to be able to reach more than just your neighbors and friends. Yes, and teach them how to ride and train their horse, but reach more people. Yes. So anyhow, everyone got the recipe for how to become millionaires, basically. And we will see how many of them follows through. I don't know. At least my goal because we all made set our goals and made our plans. So my goal for the next year is that 10 Ride Like a Viking trainers have 100K businesses by working 2 hours a day. So that's my vision and my goal. And everyone who attended the workshop also set their vision and their goal. Yes, because when you give others what they want, you get what you want. And this is actually what the shaman also taught us. Yeah, because the shamanic trained trance dancer, Paul P., he came on the last day of the clinic. And he has been trained in Mongolia to go into trance. So he basically did that for 9 years. So in the beginning, he, needed to move a lot and dance a lot to reach altered awarenesses. But after training for many years, he was then able to go into this trance by just kind of shaking his hand like this or something, which he then did. And then he started dancing with the horse. And to me, that looked very different from how I personally would dance with horse. Because at least in the Ride Like a Viking program, when we communicate with horses through body language, we do that on a distance. And by stepping forwards and stepping backwards and communicating with the horse in the language the horse understands. But the shamanic trained dancer, he basically didn't really know anything about horses. But I think he knew a lot about energy work and healing. Because to me, it looked like he kind of went into the horse's space a lot, and then he started working on the horse's energy and giving the horse what the horse needed and what the horse wanted. And that's when he found some kind of that he kind of shoveled out from underneath the horse's neck. And he also did some very fast circular movements over the horse's back, and basically quite a lot of other movements around the horse. But the funny part with this was that since Pauline is training her horses with positive reinforcement, at least when we approached them, they were a little bit like searching for food and such, and maybe thinking we would give them a treat, and they were kind of doing that. But when the shaman approached them, they didn't do any of that. And the horse he worked on had this kind of twitch or tics that he would kind of do something with his tongue. And he was doing that a lot. But during the dance and after the dance, the horse kind of, the tongue was normal. And he seemed to like it because he kind of, yeah, wanted the dance and enjoyed it. And after this dance, I asked the Paul P what he was doing, and he basically said that he wanted to give the horse what the horse needed, and that he didn't really have any plans or expectations on what the horse could give him. So I think this kind of sums it all up a bit, and something I maybe also wanted to share with the business plan, that when we give others what they want and help others, we will get what we need ourselves. And sometimes maybe we should just trust the universe to make that happen for us. But we will probably not make it unless we put ourselves out there, like the shaman did, because he was then basically doing stuff with horses in front of I think we were 15 horse trainers. He didn't know anything about horses. So he was in a kind of vulnerable spot there. And what I'm going to take from this is that, which also was his exact words. When I asked him what he was doing, he said I was giving the horse what the horse needed. And not what the audience expected, for sure. And so the next time I go to see the horses, I will ask them what they need, and which I actually did today. And that was a bit strange, because I was going to move the horses to another pasture. And I was kind of in a rush in getting that done. But somehow I decided to check on the trotter's legs before moving her to the other pasture. And the pasture we have now, to get to the stable, they kind of need to go through some kind of ditch, so they are kind of muddy on their feet. But I checked her legs and I found quite a big wound that wasn't visible at all. and something that probably has happened while I was in France, because it looked to be about a week old and quite deep. And she needs some kind of vet care tomorrow. But I washed the wound and I put the bandage on and I put her in the stable. And I think if I hadn't had this thought in my mind, like, what does this horse need? I probably wouldn't have done it, because I was very much into getting this done, to get the horses to the next pasture and get all this sorted so that I could go live and talk to you about the weekend. And so maybe we should do that next time we are together with our horses. Ask them, what do they need? And they might answer in mysterious ways. Anyhow, I think her wound will heal properly now that I have discovered it. But if I had put her up on the pasture, which is kind of like a outback wilderness pasture, it could probably be a few more weeks before I had then noticed the wound, which then would have been bigger and maybe a huge problem. So let me know in the comments below if you take the time to give your horse what they need, and if you are planning to start a business, let me know in the comments below what your clients need. Yes, because I think that's where our attention needs to be. And I hope that I have provided you with some tips during these 15 minutes about saddle fitting and about horse training techniques that strengthens the horse's back, coaching techniques, and how you can start a business. Not exactly how to do it, but that it's actually possible and you don't necessarily need to work more to earn more. And how the shaman showed us something very valuable that I think is a universal rule. Can we say rule? Yeah, I think so. I think it's an universal rule. If you give others what they need, you will get what you need. It's very, very simple. And Freya needed some wound care today, and I am glad I asked myself that question and didn't just carry on with what I was doing and the plans I had. So take a minute and ask this question, and you will get what you need. And anything is actually possible, much more than you think. Yes. Okay, thank you so much for joining this evening, and bye for now.